Welcome to Bandit's Keep Actual Play. I'm Daniel. In this episode, a new mapper takes the field, looking for more spots for our adventurers to loot. Okay, so this is going to be another mapper session. If you haven't watched any of them yet, I'm going to go over some of the rules. Basically, I'm using original Dungeons & Dragons, but I'm primarily focusing on the outdoor survival part of it. The original books tell you to pick up this game by Avalon Hill. I'll put a link in the description. You can find them on eBay and stuff still. And use it for your outdoor survival. Or your outdoor travel, I should say. So what I'm doing in this campaign is I'm putting out a character that I'm calling the Mapper. They're going to look around out here and locate treasure hoards that the adventuring parties then go to loot. So because we're going back to using this, if you've been watching the other ones, the terrain effects are a little bit different in outdoor survival, so I'm keeping this nearby just in case I forget. But this is effectively how we track our Mapper. We've got food and water levels. We've got how fast they can move. And we're going to use die rolls to determine basically how far they can move, what direction they can move, etc., with the goal of uncovering these, which we're going to place now. So for the most part, I'm using this search scenario as my basis. So I roll a d6 at the beginning of each turn. If it's a 1 or a 2, they've got to move in a straight line with no turns, their maximum movement. 3, 4, 5, they can move. They have to move their full movement, but they can turn at least once. And if they roll a 6, they can actually control how far they go, which is very nice because one conceit we have here is this 6-sided die. Because in OD&D, every 7th day you have to rest, what I'm doing here is I use this as a countdown. When somebody is in the field by themselves, they must reach some kind of a shelter within once a week in order to kind of reset themselves. If they do not do that, they will effectively go mad in the wilderness and become lost. So that's our countdown. They have a number of dice equal to their levels. I'm starting with a brand new mapper today. I have another one that's at 3rd level, but we're going to try to bring in some new mappers. So we'll track that as we go, and I'll explain it as we kind of go through this. I'll talk about more of this, but first let's place the treasures. So basically, what I do here is I've done a few different ways, but what I'm going to do now is there's basically 6 quadrants here, and what I'm going to do is there is 7 of those things. So I think I have 7 dice. Haha, look at that. I'm going to roll these 7 dice to determine where each of these things will be. Okay, so 1's up there, right? So I have 2 of them are in 1, 2 are in 2, 3 of them are in 1. Ooh, that's a rich area up there. Then 4 and 5. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take, so this is 6, so 5 is here, 4 is here somewhere. I'm going to smush them around a little bit. 2 is up here, and 3 of them are going to go over into 1. I don't want to look at them because some of them are marked differently and those ones are more valuable maps. So I don't want to metagame over here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to place everything over. So now, I mean, you can't see me, but I kind of go like this. I straighten this out. I kind of close my eyes and I just kind of swoosh my hand around and I stop. And I'm going to do the same for each of these. Got 2 up here. There's 1 over here. And that's it. Okay, so that's all the treasures placed. Now, that's all fine and dandy, but here's where the here's where the rubber meets the road, as they say. Now I'm going to roll to see where the mapper comes in. Basically, I'm going to use the lost chart up at the top, and I'm going to roll a d6, and they're going to come in one of these quadrants. So we're going to roll 2. Okay, so 2 is actually over here somewhere. So they can come in anywhere around here. I'm going to, put them up over here because that's closest to the treasures. And usually I put them somewhere like basically in the middle. Now you can notice on this guy, hopefully I can see with the focus, he's got a little 6 on him. That's his movement to start. You never want to name the mappers right away because they may not come back. Now the one other thing that I want to do now is, I'll put this over here because I'm probably not going to be anywhere near this side of the board because I doubt with only 1 die, it's very unlikely they're going to get that far. They're probably going to be able to recover with just 1 treasure and get out. Because what they have to do is they must leave from this top part of the board. It could be anywhere, so it could be here. It could be over here. It's just somewhere on the top part of the board they have to leave from. They got to get to where the location is, mark it, and then get off. That's basically the plan. One thing I want to do is I'm running this as a campaign, and I kind of started on January 1st, but this mapper didn't necessarily go out on January 1st. So I'm going to roll a D12, let's say, and that's going to be the day of January that they leave. 11th, okay. So this matters because since I have a bunch of adventure parties coming and going, assuming this mapper comes back with a map, we need to know when they came back and who can get the map, like who's in town and stuff. So we're starting on January 11th. And what I'm going to do, what I like to do, just to kind of keep my pace, is I'm going to actually count down the days just with hash marks. Sometimes I flip these things, but we'll just use hash marks on the thing. And if/when they get home, we'll figure out how long they were gone for. I tend to get excited when I play, so I'll probably end up going really fast. But at first, I'll try to explain as best I can the rules as I go. If you do have questions still at the end of this or whatever, go ahead and leave a comment, and I will try to answer all the questions. And maybe I'll even do a video after a while with a bunch of questions kind of stacked up. But let's start. So, I should also point out, these are little, I got these from ONLYCRITS. They have little ducks inside. I don't know, it's really hard to see that. I'll take a picture of them at some point. I always point it out, but you probably can't see them that well. All right. We're rolling a d6. We are in the clear. Oh, it doesn't matter. It's like I'm playing OD&D. We're rolling a d6. What we really want is a 6. Anything that's not a 1 or a 2 is fine, though. 3. Okay. You always want to be able to turn if you can. I don't think I need to here because I'm going this way. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I can't go any further because the forest cost 2. So even though I have 6 movement, I can only really go 5. That's fine. I stop. Now, I stop on water. That means that I don't use up any water. But I don't have any food, so food automatically goes down 1. Okay, now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this to 5. Because remember, I only have that many days in the wilderness. And that resets when you get to these little houses. And luckily, one of the maps sitting around top of the house. That's good. The day's not over yet. I'm now going to roll in the Underworld and Wilderness Adventures book. We're basically going to look in here. And we're going to look to see where we are. We're on a river. So on a roll of a 5 or a 6, I have an encounter. I'm not worrying about lost because we're using another tool for that. So I'll put this here. That should be fine. At some point, I'll figure out a good place for everything to be, but I just start going. Oh, and also I'll make 1 hash mark because the day has gone by. So let's roll to see if we have an encounter. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but I'm going to roll it up here. It's just easier for me. 4. There's no encounter. I rolled a 4. Day is over. Life goes on. We're all good. Now, next day starts. I'm going to roll a d6, again, right here, to see if, I guess I'll roll this one, to see if, how I can move. 4. Okay, 4 means I can move my maximum movement, and I can turn 1 time. Now, forest takes 2 moves, and I really want to get over there. If I pass through food, then I won't have to collect food. If I pass through water, I won't have to collect water. I'm going to basically be able to move 3 hexes, so I'm not going to be able to pass through food and water. So I'm just going to pass through the food. So 1, 2, right? So I pass through food. 3, 4, 5, 6. I end the day there. My food stays the same. Now, even though I did not pass through water, every day I can roll on a 1 or a 2, I find water. 1. Okay, so my water index remains the same. I'm doing pretty good. Now I'm going to take this and change it to 4. And we're going to roll to see if we have an encounter. We are now in the forest. In the woods, an encounter is on a 5 or a 6. 6. Okay. We're encountering our first enemy. So what's important here now is, basically, you could play this game and not worry too much about the exact monsters, but of course, because I'm using this with a D&D campaign, I want to know. We're in the woods, so we're going to roll a d8 to see what type of monster it is that we encounter. 4. 4 are lycanthropes. Now we're going to roll to see what kind of lycanthrope it is. That's a d4 roll. 2. We're boars. Okay, now it doesn't really matter. Occasionally I'll run into something like a gold dragon and I'll be like, okay, well, that might be worth interacting with, but I'm not really playing that way, right? So no matter what we encounter, we're going to try to avoid it. Wereboars can be neutral or chaotic, so they wouldn't necessarily attack us, but we're still going to try to avoid them. So now we go to the Monsters and Treasure book. We're going to look lycanthropes, and there can be from 2 to 20 of them. There's a 15% chance that they're in their lair. So first I'm going to roll to see if they're in their lair. Because as the mapper, if we discover a lair, we can put it on the map and we can actually sell that information. So it's good for us. That's a 20, I think, right? 20, okay. It's 20. It's not their lair, so they are traveling. The other thing we want to check is their speed. Now, because it's variable, we have to actually look up. I know this, but I'm just going to do it for you guys. You start to learn this the more stuff you run into. So boars movement is 12, which is basically what our movement is. Our movement is always going to be considered 12 because that's an unarmored person. So we effectively have the same movement as them. Good to go. Now, the other thing with evasion is, now let's look up the evasion rules so we can kind of go through that. So that's all important. When we flip over to evasion, what we see is, oh, I need to know how many there are. Okay, there are 6 plus 8 is 14. Okay, that's more than 60%. So my party size is 1 through 3. There is over 60% of the number that there could be, which means I have a 90% chance to evade them. Now, I'm in the woods, so I have an additional 25%. So basically, I'm automatically going to evade them unless I'm surprised. So I'm going to roll, unless I'm surprised and they're not surprised, so because they can counter each other. So does the boars surprise me? On a roll of 1 or 2, I'm surprised. I am not surprised. So even if I surprise them, it doesn't matter because I'm going to try to evade. So with a surprise, you automatically evade. I probably should have rolled that first, but I wanted to walk through the whole thing. I surprise them. They're passing through the woods. We just ignore it. I hide basically, which is, what you want to do when you see a whole bunch of boars come through the woods. And the day passes. I already marked that down to 4. Next day, we're going to roll a d6 to see our movement. 4. 4 means we can move our maximum amount and we can turn once. Now, not wanting to lose any speed, I'm going to see if it's worthwhile for me to go through this water. If I go here, 1, 2, then I could turn, 3, 4, 5, 6. That puts me on kind of an off angle. I could also go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That probably makes the most sense because that actually puts me at least on the same level with it. So I'm going to do that. 1, 2, I pass through water. 3, 4. Yeah. 5, 6. Okay, since I passed through water, I don't need to check it, but my food goes down because I didn't pass through food. Now, this switches to 3. We are in the plains. An encounter is only on a 6. 2, no encounter. Day passes, it's all good. You can see how this counts down really quickly. What has to happen here is we got to maneuver ourselves so that we can land on this thing. And that is very difficult to do when you have an even amount of movement. So I might actually have a hard time doing this, but worst case scenario, we'll at least get the treasure map because we'll pass through it. So let's roll to see what we get. 1. 1 is the worst possible thing. 1 means we have to move our full movement in a straight line. And unfortunately, because of the way I run the game, I can't go this way and pass through this, which is what I wanted to do, because that would be more, I have to go my full movement and I can't because the board ends there. So that would basically be an illegal move. So I cannot move in the direction I want to move, which is a bummer. But at the same time, I don't want to end up, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That could be bad. So sometimes it makes sense to backtrack. I'm thinking if I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I think that might actually work for me. So I'm going to actually, because I can go in any direction I want, I just have to, actually I think I can go in any direction I want, right? Yeah, start in any direction. Some of these you have to roll, but not in this case. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I can't go 6 because, again, it takes 2 movement to go. So right there, I stop. I did not collect food. Do I find water? I do not find water. This is where it starts to get dangerous real quick. This mapper might die really quickly. Now I'm going to roll. This goes down to 2. Now I'm going to roll to see if there's an encounter. And I'm in the woods, which means it's on a 5 or a 6. 6. There's an encounter in the woods. This could be very bad for me. I'm going to roll to see, well, first of all, Yeah, I'll roll the type of monster. We'll do it procedurally here. 4. Huh, more lycanthropes. It makes sense that they're probably the same lycanthropes. If I was running the game, that's what I would do. I rolled a 3 this time, though, so it's not. It's weird tigers. And I know this for a fact that none of the, basically only flying monsters are twice as fast as us, and that's the only time that really matters. So what's going to end up happening here is that, I'll look it up again, but I'm looking in the wrong book, but only flying creatures are really fast enough for it to matter. We're going to roll now to see, before I even see how many there are, let's see if they surprise me. They do not. Let's see if I surprise them. I do not. Okay. No surprise. So with that going on, what we need to do is determine how many there are so we can get our percentage. It's going to be pretty high, so I'm probably good, but, you know, I say that and then roll bad. 9. So that's just less than 50%, because again, there's 2 to 20. So 26 to 60%. I have a 70% chance of evading them. The woods add 25%. So I have a 95% chance to evade these guys. And I definitely want to evade them, especially with my number here being 2. I'll show you what happens if I don't, obviously. 76, I evade them. Okay, so day passes, life is fine. I've been forgetting to check this off, but that's okay because, okay, we're basically on day 5. That was just day 5. Or this is day 5 we're on now, rather. Okay, so now I'm going to roll. Here's where the dice have to be in favor of me. I really want to roll a 6 so I have some good control here. But anything but a 1 or a 2 will probably be okay. 3. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I land right on top of it with a 6. That is exactly what I needed, which is nice. Okay, I've recovered a map. Now, what I had been doing before was taking them off so I could keep track of it, but what I'm going to do from now on is I'm just going to turn them up, and I'll deal with it at the end. I'll put it, just so I know my guy is, I'll just do that. Okay, I'm on the house. Now let's talk about a couple of rules. 2 things happen. Well, this turns to a 1. When you end your turn on a hex that has food or water, you not only are replenished, but this here resets. Now, if you're past one of these life levels, it just jumps back. But since both of these are still on that line, these are both going to reset back. The other thing that happens is, so that's the food and water, right? So food would do food, water would do water. The house does both. When you land on the house, assuming you can spend the night there, which we're about to do, this resets back. So this is a super important roll. If I roll a 6 here, there's an encounter. If there's an encounter, there's a chance I might have to run, which would be bad for me. 4, no encounter. Okay. With no encounter, this resets back, and I'm currently safe. Now I have to decide if I think it's worthwhile to go after any more maps. And unfortunately for the mapper, it's usually not when you're first level, but I am eyeballing that one way over in the corner over here. That's all straight line to it, right? So assuming I can go, I can turn at least once, I could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3. Oh man. Even with full movement, it looks like it would take me 3 days to get there, which means I can't actually get there and back. Same, you know, again, because there's no house for me to stop at. Down here, there's a house. So in theory, these only cost 1 to go through. So if I could go in a straight line, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2. It would take me about 3 days to get to this house where I could reset. It's a risk. So we have to decide whether or not we want to do that. And I think with a new mapper, I think they're going to be chicken and they're just going to leave. This is a good way to get the mapper to get a little experience points and to get them a little bit of gold. Now it is risky because if they don't come off with the map, oh, by the way, I should have marked that down. That was 5. 5 days in the field. All right, so let's see. Is the mapper going to risk it? I'm trying to look for other houses. There's no houses over here. So really the only option for me to do is going to be, if I want to do this, is to go for the one over there. It is possible because if I'm going to pass through enough food and water that I should be able to keep my movement up. So it's just a matter of being able to position myself here, well, or even there, before I run out of days. Let me count one more time. Strategy is important here. 1, 2, 3. The problem with this is I can't actually do that because you need to enter from this hex. So I'd have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so I get there on 6, and that actually has water, and I would pass through food. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 2 days. Yeah, I think I can do it. All right, as long as I don't roll terrible, I should be able to pull this off. Mapper's taking a risk. If I roll really bad, like a 1 right now, I'm just going to turn around and leave. A 1. Well, the fates have spoken. So that being the case, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I can't go 6. I'm going to leave that there because, again, that's marked. Now, I switch this down to 5. I did not pass through food. I'm going to roll to see if I found water. I did not. And now we're in the woods. Is there an encounter in the woods? There is not. Okay, good. All right, so really, I'm just gonna go this way because I can escape anywhere from the map in this space, right? So I'm basically good to go there. So, and I'll pass through water if I do that. I think that's just smarter than trying to go back the other way. I think that's smarter anyways. Well, let me just roll first because it may not matter, because if I get a straight line, then I'm probably going to do exactly what I just said. If I get a turn, I might try to turn. 2, straight line. Okay, so 1, 2, I pass through water. 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, yeah, I'm definitely good here. So I pass through water, but I don't pass through food. I'm in the woods. This goes down to 4. Do I have an encounter? I do. Oh no, okay. Again, this can be bad. We haven't actually got chased yet, so it's been pretty good, but it does happen. I'm going to roll a d8 to see what's after us. 5. What you don't want is like really high numbers like 8s, because those are usually like dragons and flying creatures, and those are bad. And 1's also a flyer. 5. 5 in the woods. Lycanthropes. Oh, a lot of lycanthropes in the woods. All right, and we know none of the lycanthropes are faster than us, but we're going to roll to see what kind they are. Oop. 2, which again is weird boars. We're going to, oh, I didn't roll the lair last time, but we'll do it now. Is this their lair? No. How many are there? Oh, a lot, 16, okay. Do they surprise me? They do not. Do I surprise them? I do not. But with that number, I have like over 100% chance of evading them. So I basically evade them. The day goes by, it's all good. And finally, I say finally, but yeah, finally, 1, and then 2, 3, 4, 5, and basically I'm off the map. I mean, this is considered for free. All you gotta do is go off it. So, you know, it's a 1 movement thing. So basically, I've now passed off the map. The mapper has survived. I located a map here, 1 map. That was 3. That was 4 more days, right? So I was in the field 9 days. So it is January 20th. When I return. Okay, so what we're going to do now is determine what the map is, because that's going to give us our experience points. The other things that I do at the map is I mark on the board where it is. And the way I do that is I just use the ruler. I measure from one side or the other. In this case, it's easy for me to measure from here. It's basically exactly 12. And then from the top of the board, you're looking at ½ an inch. So the way I do that is I designate on the map. I'll show you. So this is effectively what the map is. It's 12 that way, 0.5 that way. And we know that's where it is. It's right on top of the house, which is nice. Okay, now we're going to determine what kind of map it is. This is always fun. So we go to Monsters and Treasure. Okay, we're going to roll here. There's a percentile to see what kind of map it is. It could either be a treasure map, a magic map, or a treasure and magic. Okay, 12. 12 is a treasure map. We go to our treasure map, and we're going to roll to see what kind. I'm going to roll a d8. 8. Okay. 8 is 3 and 7. 3 is 1 and 2, so it's 1, 2, and then 10 to 60 gems into, wow, that's a really good treasure. This is a big one. Okay, so let's do a little rolling to see what kind of treasure's here, and because that's going to matter for the mapper's experience points and stuff. So it is 3 and 7, so 10,000 to 40,000 silver is basically a D4 times 10,000. $20,000 silver pieces. Okay. Again, he's not collecting this treasure. This is what the map's worth because he gets a value based on the map. Then, I say he, but it could be she too. We probably should name these guys right away. All right, so 5 to 30,000 is a D6 times 5,000. 1, okay, so 5,000. There's 5,000 gold pieces here. Okay. And then we have 10 to 60 gems, which again is a D6 times 10, so 20 gems. And finally, this could be a big one, is 2 to 20. I mean, I guess also, if you wanted more random numbers, I could just roll also 10d6, right? Or 60d10 rather would be. But I'm not going to roll that. So I'm going to roll 2d10 though and add it up here as opposed to doing a d10 times 2. Just because I have 2 dice and it's easy. 11. So we got 11 jewelry. And then what we do is we go over here. All the ways to the end, I believe. Oh, yep. Keep moving that one. All the ways to the end. And we get the value of our gems, the value of our jewelry. I'll roll all this up, and when we bring the map back up, I'll tell you what the totals are. You don't need to sit there while I roll a whole bunch of dice. All right, well, the mapper made a good decision in leaving because they got out with a really good map. I calculated everything out here, and we're looking at, I'm not going to read it all, but the total value of this map is over 54,000 gold pieces. This gives our mapper 2,726 experience points, and they level up as fighters. So they're going to get on second level now, and they walk away with 1,363 gold pieces. Every time they go on the field, it costs them 500 gold per die, basically, per level. But of course, they don't start with any money, so they got to kind of pay that back in their first map. So they're walking away with 863. They're going to be able to go in one more time and hopefully come out successfully with a map. Otherwise, they'll be negative. But in any case, this mapper, maybe I'll give him a name because now I'm feeling pretty positive. I think they're going to go back in the field again. It's January 20th, so when the next adventuring parties go out, if it's after January 20th for them, they'll have access to this map as well.